It's one of those days.
Wait, it can, Jim, it's one of those days. I can just been a very bizarre, crazy day.
Yes, there's something in the
The
water.
council president's ex officio.
It's a joke.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Law Committee of the City Council. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to open?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members of the Law Committee present, Councilman Gully, Councilmember Soriento. Here. And Councilman Steele, Councilmember Steele. Also present, Council President Mantello, Councilmember Mann, Councilmember Conley Wilson, and Councilmember Figueroa. This evening, we are here for one item, and that is to consider an application and bid for a parcel of city surplus real property by a city employee, and that is per the Troy City Code, Section 83-4 B2. At this time, I would ask the city employee if he would be willing to come up and answer any questions that the council members might have. Thank you, Mr. Abbott.
How you doing?
Do you want to just give us a quick overview of your plans? We have your application in front of us.
Basically, my plans are to live there. I'm looking for a one-family house, and that's what I want.
Okay. And could you inform? Could you, I guess the mic has to be right near your
Okay.
mouth. Okay.
Yeah, I'm basically looking for one-family home, and that's what I'm looking
And
for.
could,
I've been in Landsberg all my life. And that's pretty much where I want to stay.
okay. And would you clarify for us your position here at the city, please?
Heavy equipment operator for Public Works. I've been there 24 years.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any members of the city council for Mr. Abbott?
Sure.
Council member?
When's the first cookout? Oh, wait.
I'm hoping for 60 days. That's my goal.
Okay. You know the council address? No. I'm gonna- Hey, listen, Keith, let me ask you something.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know you tried for a home before, am I
Yes.
right? And you've consistently tried over the last few auctions, find a
Yes.
home that you could bring your family to.
Yes.
Call it home. I know you've been in Lansingburg all your life, and I really have always had great results with our conversations and the things we did together. So I don't really have a lot of questions that would ask you much of what anybody would need to hear, except for the fact that you've been working here a long time with the city, and I believe all our city employees living in the city make us stronger. So I really don't, that was the only question I had. When's the cookout?
I don't have any.
No questions?
No.
Any other members have questions? Okay, hearing none, I would just want to thank you for your service to the city and for wanting to stay in our city. That speaks highly And so we're very grateful to you for that. So I see no problem in approving the property
Thank you.
and wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn at this time. Motion.
Chair? Do we have to vote on this to push it forward, or can you just say it's approved and we move forward? Legally, I just want to make sure we.
Yeah, the code is very vague on this, in conversations with the Corporation Council. He has put together a certification that indicates, that Mr. Abbott came before us and so forth and so on, but just to be safe,
Cover all
I would
bases.
entertain a motion, to approve the proposal.
And I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Now I will entertain a motion to adjourn by
Motion.
Councilman Gully and seconded by
Second.
Councilmember Soriento. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are now adjourned. Thank you.
I advanced this day. Quick to the
I'm burning all this down to the ground. Forgive me if I need a minute to think before lighting the match.
Evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Council Finance Meeting. I'd ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And how about Council Member Gully lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do a quick roll call. Councilmember Gully.
Here.
Councilmember Figueroa. Councilmember Steele. Councilmember Men.
Here.
Councilmember Conley Wilson. Present. Councilmember Soriento. Here. Council President Mantello is here. We have 7 present, no absent. I'd also like to point out our clerk and legislative assistant are also with us. I don't see department heads, but we do have a department head joining us on Zoom, and that is Steve Strikeman. So thank you for joining us, Steve. Can we get a picture of Steve in case we have questions, Maria? Okay. Hi, Steve.
Gotta give the guy a raise.
You look so happy.
I'm happy. I got a comfortable sweater on. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. All right. Presentation of the agenda. All items on this evening's finance agenda, should they be voted on? In the affirmative, we'll move to the regular meeting. Ordinance 1, ordinance author, or first I'll open it up to a public forum. I apologize. Would anyone like to speak on any item on the finance agenda? Okay, we're going to close the public forum for the finance meeting. Ordinance 6, ordinance authorizing the sale of a certain city-owned parcel of real property by the proposal sale application method. Councilmember Gully, at the request of the administration, is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Steele, is there a second? Second, Councilmember Figueroa, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Nay. All right, ordinance 6 carries 5-2. Ordinance 7, ordinance authorizing the sale of a certain city-owned parcel of real property by the proposal sale application method. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Men, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Soriento, discussion. That was, oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Conley Wilson. I was reading the agenda. I gotta look up. Councilmember Conley Wilson seconds, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ordinance 7 carries 7-0. Ordinance 8, ordinance authorizing the sale of a certain city-owned parcel of real property by the proposal sale application method. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson, is there a second? Second, Councilmember Gully, discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Opposed? Recused?
Recuse.
Thank you. We have 6-0, 1 recusal. Thank you, Councilmember Soriento recuses. Ordinance 9, ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned parcel of real property by the proposal sale application method. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Men, is there a second? Second, Councilmember Gully, discussion. I would just like to state at the Law Committee this evening at 6 o'clock, the employee per our code did meet with the Law Committee, stated what he plans to do with the property, and our code specifically states if an employee does bid on a property and is to be awarded, must be approved by the Law Committee, which the Law Committee approved. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 9 carries 7-0. Resolution 8, resolution appointing a commissioner of deeds for the city of Troy, Council President Mantello. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Soriento. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 8 carries 7-0. Resolution 9, resolution appointing a commissioner of deeds for the city of Troy, Council President Mantello. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Gully. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And recused.
Recused.
Thank you. Councilmember Soriento recuses 6-0-1. Resolution 9 passes. Resolution 10, resolution appointing a commissioner of deeds for the city of Troy, Council President Mantello. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Soriento. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And is there a recusal? Councilmember Gully, 6-0-1. Resolution 10 passes. Resolution 11, resolution appointing a commissioner of deeds for the city of Troy, Councilmember Gully. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Soriento. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? Actually, there is discussion. I asked you to add, I have to amend this ordinance. Somebody sent their commissioner of deeds application. I need to amend. Do you have that? Could you pass it to the council so they have it and I can amend, please? Sorry, I have to amend. Somebody got their application in late. Thank you. We're on hold for 3 minutes.
Well.
Hi.
What's everybody got planned for the sub-zero dates coming?
Yeah. know what's going on with this. It's so weird. You know what I'm thinking? It might be a
I'd
lie.
like to see us really
it
have
cut?
something fresh right, planning and block off this, and the citizens deserve it. We deserve it. Fix the system here so we're not a bunch of wires.
While you're on hold, could I make a comment?
Yes.
I
Yes, Steve, thank you.
just realized the call for public hearing for Canal Street. If you remember, I changed everything to Canal Ave. The one that's on there posted is Canal Ave. It should be Canal Street. It says it a number of times Canal Ave. So that needs to be amended. I'm sorry.
Yep, I will amend on the floor. Thank you, Steve. Don't get complicated.
That's we call on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thankfully, my mind is working, thankfully.
My brother. I don't
Do you
even have a
want your
brother.
fan?
Brother from another mother.
Brother from.
Okay, I apologize about that. So we are on resolution 11. We did get a motion in a second. On the discussion, I would like to amend resolution 11 to add Commissioner Deeds Mark Wojcik to the resolution 11. So I am making a motion to amend. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Soriento. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Recuse? I'll recuse myself because I'm also on this, even though the amendment, I probably don't have to recuse, but that's fine. On the original resolution, is there or on the amended resolution 11, is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Gully. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Soriento. Discussion?
Council President, I apologize.
Yes.
I cannot, since I'm sponsoring, I cannot be.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Soriento, is there a second? Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I will recuse. 6-0-1. Resolution 11 passes.
Resolution 12, resolution of the Troy City Council scheduling a public hearing in connection with the discontinuance. I will do it right from the get-go of Canal. I will amend Canal Ave to Canal Street between Franklin Street and Third Street in order to expand the Canal Avenue Park. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, first we'll get a motion in a second, and then I'll make a motion. Is there a motion? Thank you, Councilmember Gully motions. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson. I will now make a motion to amend Avenue to Street. And in accordance, it will also be amended in the actual resolution. So wherever it says Avenue, please amend to Street. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson on the amendment. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The amendment passes. Back to the amended resolution. Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Men. Discussion. Steve, take it away.
Okay, as I discussed without the resolution last week in planning committee meeting, this is basically a call for a public hearing to be held on in 2 weeks before the finance meeting for the abandoned or discontinuance of Canal Street between Franklin and Third Street, which will allow for the expansion of the Canal Street Park across the street to meet up with Post and Kill, creating an overlook, expanding the park, and actually creating the pathway for a future greenway along Canal Street from the river to the gorge.
Steve, I'm really excited about this proposal. And I believe you've talked to residents in the area. I know that, some of your folks have reached out to folks. Was there any, concerns or anything raised? I only asked that because I did hear from someone, the person wants to remain anonymous. But the person did say that closing part of that street, that the alleys will get more traffic in the area, and that this person knows from experience when they're doing the sprinklers during the summer, the alleys were getting quite a bit of truck traffic because that street was closed. So clearly we don't want truck traffic through the alleyways. So will that be perhaps addressed if this is closed, no truck traffic, maybe signs, things to that nature, but has that been looked into, and has that been,
It hasn't, but I don't know how it would create additional truck traffic. The truck traffic would either, if they're southbound on First, would make a left prior to the Post and Kill, and northbound on Second would have to make a head east prior to hitting Canal. So I don't see how it would increase traffic. I mean, we've looked at the traffic on the street, and this morning during rush hour, there are, I believe, 11 vehicles in 1 hour period of time, and that was it was yesterday morning from 8 to 9 o'clock. So I don't see as it's going to create any additional truck traffic on the alleys.
Yeah, and I was surprised to receive this only because I kind of thought, a truck going through Nelly would be a little difficult maneuvering, but this person, who lives near there is, stating that there has, been some issues, but stating that the public hearing, hopefully, if folks, now, do you plan to contact folks in the area to give them a heads up about the public hearing, Steve?
Well, I think we would probably just post it through the neighborhood groups and have them connected that way by emails.
I like that. Okay. Have you heard any other concerns about this? And also,
I did hear one concern this morning from a city hall employee that was concerned, but that was the only one I heard.
okay. And then secondly, the ultimate vision, I mean, obviously, we're trying to connect this to the gorge, which will be absolutely fabulous. And, how do you see that connection happening? And in terms of the planning, do we have any design to date? Or do we plan to go after monies to try to design or?
I will have to go after design. I mean, we've had some conceptual designs done in the past. I think TAP may have done one. I'm pretty sure there was a few that have been done over time, but nothing really that get down into the, the traffic studies and the nuts and bolts. We've had other trail priorities over this one. So not a lot has been done. I would say this is, this will probably occur more when the industrial road is completed and development starts occurring down in that area, and we determine what we want to do with the SCO Light site.
That's cool. And, I can tell you, obviously as being the prior Greenway director, but this is a perfect project to potentially apply for some small dollars. They're $5,000 grants, matching. You can match it with technical assistance. So saying that, I would potentially encourage that because, I wouldn't think it would cost a lot of money to plan this.
No, it shouldn't.
Cool. Further discussion?
Council President.
Councilmember Conley Wilson.
Yeah, I'm just really excited about this. This is right across from the fire station. So it's nice to have a nice new park next to the nice new fire station. And I really love Steve's vision for this. So I'm very excited. This park has needs a lot of love, and I'm excited to see the 2 different playgrounds for the different age groups because there are a lot of young families that live in the region. So it's going to be a really great vision to execute. So thanks, Steve, for this.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. And, I just want to add, a lot of people, when they hear trails, they kind of think, oh, trails are great, recreation, et cetera. But, we all see firsthand that trails improve quality of life. Quality of life, obviously, is one of the 3 indicators of people moving into a neighborhood, with taxes, education, public safety. So saying that, this is fantastic and really near and dear to my heart. So thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Cool. We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Resolution 12 passes. Now let's schedule the public hearing. Steve, timing, what are you looking at in terms of your time frame? I mean, are you looking to try to get this on the March agenda?
It would be nice for this one to actually, for both of these, to move them forward, especially, so that the bidding can go out. These both have to be referred to the Planning Commission as well. They would be able to act on this the night before the public hearing if you did it at the finance meeting. And I don't think they're going to have that many comments, but for this one, it's a typical newspaper notice. So it would be good if we could do this one in 2 weeks and then vote on it a month from tonight.
I like that. We do a public utilities meeting on the 16th at 5:45. The finance, even though it's scheduled for 6, will start after that. So potentially could council members, and if you can't get here, as long as we have a quorum, and if it's not in your district, don't get me wrong, I encourage you to be here, but if we can't have everyone here, but what I would like to try to shoot for is 5:30 on February 16th. Then we could go into public utilities and then finance. I believe. I'm sorry. So,
5:30.
oh, yours is 5:30. I'm sorry. So let's do 5:15. Councilmember Figueroa, I know you have a tough time, and Councilmember Conley Wilson, but okay. So 5:15 on February 16th.
Yeah, that's fine. We might want to amend this.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Okay. Oh,
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry. Sure.
We could do the,
thank you.
could we move the public utilities meeting to 5:45 and then we don't. Because that notice hasn't gone out.
No, 5:45. They have the next, which we'll have to amend that one too.
Oh.
Hold on. Yeah. Okay. So let's say 5:15 for the canal. And then we'll do the next public hearing, which we're going to talk about in a minute. We'll do that one at 5:20. Remember, if it goes over, it goes over, but you have to schedule them. Okay. So let's say 5:15 for the canal. Okay. So I just want to make sure that was in the backup, not in the actual resolution, correct? No, it is in the resolution. So I will now, resolution 12, make a motion to amend the resolution from 5:30 to 5:15. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson, discussion on the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now going to once again take a motion on the amended resolution 12. Is there a motion? Councilmember Conley Wilson motions. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Gully, discussion on the amended resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, resolution 12 carries 7-0 and Maria 5:15. Steve, good with that? Cool. All right. Last but not least, resolution 13, resolution of the Troy City Council scheduling a public hearing in connection with the discontinuance of Hill Street between 4th Street and Liberty Street and traffic flow changes on Hill Street and Liberty Street. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Mim. Before we get into discussion, I'm going to make a motion to amend the 5:45 on the 16th to 5:20. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Discussion on the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, on the amended resolution, resolution 13, is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion. Steve, many of us were in attendance at the Little Italy Quality of Life, where you really went into depth with this proposal. But just for the public, I'd like you just to kind of give a briefing. Just for folks out there, this is a super exciting proposal that really connects to so much that's happening in Little Italy, at the market, over at the Triangle, CDTA's proposal. So maybe you could kind of piece it all together. Thank you.
Sure. So am I on right now? I'm on a different screen. Okay. So the first project that's close to this is on 4th Street, the CDBG program for sidewalks and repaving that will come from the canal up to Division Street. So that's one project. The second project is the CDTA Mobility Hub, which basically discontinues Hill Street between Liberty and 4th, where it meets Division Street. And just as a note, because there are buildings that front on that street, we will also be required to do mailings to every property owner there as well. And we've done that before. We've notified everybody about this, but now that there's actually a public hearing, we'll do another mailing on that. So that will discontinue the street and expand the mobility hub over that area, kind of greening up the area, getting rid of an unsafe intersection where Hill Street comes out into Division Street. And it's a hairpin angle there basically, and hard to look back over. So this basically creates corrects a safety issue there. But because there's going to be a loss of parking spaces on that section of Hill Street, some of them will be relocated to 4th Street, where the gap is closed by the closure of that street. But a number of the parking spaces will be relocated on Liberty Street between Hill and 5th by building a new retaining wall and expanding and creating angled parking between Hill Street and 5th Avenue as well. And then that would require a directional change on that section. Right now, Liberty Street is two-way between 5th and Hill, and then it becomes one-way just west of Hill. So now it would be only one-way eastbound, and Hill Street would become one-way southbound instead of two-way between Washington and and Liberty Street. So again, for this one, we had an extensive traffic analysis done by Creighton Manning, and they have determined that the traffic flows will not create any problems. And again, we went out on this one this morning and looked during rush hour to check on the traffic, just to make sure there was like nothing missed, like bus routes or anything else that might have been on there during rush hour this would create a problem for, and none were discovered. So I guess that's more or less the project. So it's a call for public hearing to change 2 streets to one-way and to discontinue a portion of Hill Street.
Sounds
Should I-
good, Steve. And I know that the Lesko family had some concerns. Have they been addressed? And I know that you have met with them a couple times.
So I met with the owner of the business. He met on site with us, and I've spoken to him since, and he does not believe that the change in direction is an issue. The owner of the property thought there was, but he's not the operator of the business, and the operator of the business really saw no issues with this. So nothing was addressed, nothing was changed. It was just I had differing opinions from who I spoke to at Lesko Paper.
Yeah, and sometimes change is hard, but hopefully,
Always.
hopefully though that we'll hopefully come to hopefully a good solution. Steve, I do apologize. I did have someone ask regarding, and I apologize to go back to Canal Ave, any impact at all, and has it been looked at if this was closed on the firehouse, just the access in and out and things to that nature? In full disclosure, Eric Wisher raised that, so I wanted to bring it out publicly. Was that looked at all?
So prior to Aaron Vera had discussed it with Chief McMahon, I believe, and there was no issues that were brought up. They don't really use that piece of the alley, as I was informed. It doesn't help them get in or out of the station.
Yeah.
Did you hear otherwise? Is there something I should be concerned about?
Eric, I don't mind you coming to the podium quick, so Steve hears.
It's the main thoroughfare back to the firehouse when you come from the south end of the city, right? You come up Second Street, you take a right on Canal and go to the firehouse. So we're gonna go 2 blocks further north now every time we come back to the firehouse. And then on Hill Street, if we're discontinuing the street, how do we get a ladder truck in front of that building? 1357 Hill Street. There's no street there. It's not gonna reach from 4th Street. Right, you're eliminating that Hill Street portion on the backside of the island. There's not going to be any street there, correct?
That's correct. So it's within 60 feet of Liberty Street and at the southern end, and less than that at the northern end, with the proximity to 4th Street. So that was a determination Aaron Vera had made, that the ladders could still reach that. I can discuss that with Chief McMahon again. I would like to have the public hearing, and then again, I was going based on what Aaron Vera had disclosed to me.
Okay, what I would ask is, obviously over the next 2 weeks and before the public hearing, if the meeting of the minds can happen, and obviously if there are major concerns with public safety, they either have to be addressed or the streets won't close. I mean,
We can bring a ladder truck down there and set it up and see where it reaches,
yeah, definitely.
right? If there's not going to be any street at all there.
I like that idea. So let's do some more, and then obviously we'll have the public hearings.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
Steve, if you're eliminating that street, what is the plan there? Are you putting something in there, some sort of, I mean, we're just gonna leave it like street level and maybe have some sort of blockage there? Or are we really gonna knock that off?
It's going to be at CDTA's expense. They're going to expand that park, Liberty Park, over towards the sidewalk, basically. So you'll still be able to probably drive some vehicles light vehicles through. The fire engines wouldn't go through there, but it will be shut off with bollards, and it would be basically an expansion of the park area. And bike racks, adding bike racks in and some benches, some pavers.
That's on the Liberty Street. There's also concern for Hill Street. What are you gonna do with that corner, that little piece where that little turn you're gonna eliminate? We're not putting in anything. Are we putting any curbing or raising that up from street level?
Hill Street from where?
On Hill Street, it's actually 2468. I live in 6 Hill Street. In 6 Hill Street, I'm sorry, that short piece of Hill Street that you're going to eliminate. Is there any plans to raise that up with some sort of curbing or some sort of park, or is it just gonna be just?
No, it'll be raised up, and I can share that plan with you. That's what CDTA is covering. That was what was presented at the Little Italy meeting. And there are actually designs now I could share with you, but no, it's to raise it up basically and make it one level area.
Well, I'm just thinking that if we get there, and we find out that the fire trucks can't suitably reach those buildings, because they are 3 stories, which is not like a 2-family building. It's a lot taller. But I mean, if we can reach, no harm, no foul, but if we can't, I'm sure that you'll go back and look at a design that would work to make those houses safe.
Yes, there was concern in the fire department that they didn't want something that doesn't look like a street. Their professionals are trained not to drive onto sidewalks and areas that aren't prepared specifically for them.
Yeah.
So there was concern about that.
All right, just so we look at all that, because I know those are 3-family homes there, and they're right up to each other. It's a bunch of row houses there. So we want to make sure that we have ample coverage with our ladders. You know, as we design this move, we want to make sure that we're still providing what those residents need there for safety factors.
Yes.
Very good. Further discussion. You know, once again, Steve, just this project obviously has many, many tentacles down in Little Italy, but is going to be just an incredible transformative project, and obviously dovetail with all the work that the Little Italy Quality of Life Committee is doing down there. So I'm super excited, and you know, hopefully many of these issues will be ironed out, and you know, we'll probably hear more issues at the public hearing, hopefully. Okay. And Steve, you do plan to send out notices to residents down there, I believe?
I'll be sending out notices for the properties on that section of Hill Street. And we'll work with the neighborhood again, the 3 neighborhoods there to notify residents. That's mostly Little Italy. I'll work with Little Italy basically on this one to get neighborhood notices out.
Yeah.
But that'll be emails.
Sure.
Good. They actually, you know, have such a good dialogue and really good participation with their neighborhood association. Councilmember Gully.
Steve, just bringing back, showing my age, I guess. Back when I was young, when there was a city meeting, it was after we had to ride a horse to school. They used to post a notice on the telephone poles because they know that everybody comes out to the street to get in their cars, and they got a lot of exposure that way. Have we thought about something just in those neighborhoods, just putting like something that says, hey, city meeting on this, so that people who don't get emails or elderly that might not have the technology thing down like myself, that we could get the word to them?
We could do, I mean, we have done, what we did at the last meeting was we put flyers on all of the vehicles. I don't think we can, I know we can't put them on the utility poles. That's illegal. We could put them on trees and other areas.
And Steve, in addition to the cars, I like that, but I did want to jump in. There is a bulletin board. It's actually north of DeFazio's on the west side. I'm not sure of the street house number, but Andrew Daly put a really cool bulletin board for the neighborhood down there, and it's still up. So you could always put, you know, a nice flyer on that too.
Okay, we'll get flyers out and put something on that bulletin board.
Cool.
Just some thoughts.
No, very good thought, Councilmember Gully. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, resolution 13, thank you, passes 7-0. I will now take a motion to adjourn. Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Men, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. We are adjourned and the regular meeting will start in about 9 minutes. Thank you. questions. And I'm going to be a little untraditional here. Frank Nathan, can you please come up here and lead us in the pledge?
What's up, brother?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Frank. Just for folks out there, Frank is a volunteer and a community activist over in North Central District 2 and does a ton of work for North Central. Thank you again, Frank. All right, roll call, Maria.
Councilmember Gully,
Here.
Councilmember Figueroa, Councilmember Steele, Councilmember Men,
Here.
Councilmember Conley Wilson,
Present.
Councilmember Soriento.
Here.
Council President Mantello.
I am here.
All present.
Thank you, Maria. I will take a motion to approve the minutes from the January meeting.
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Gully. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Discussion. You both sound so alike. I'm going to have to keep my head up here. All right, Councilmember Soriento seconds. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 7-0. Approval of minutes. Presentation of the agenda this evening. We have a law committee meeting. We had a finance committee meeting. Those items are on the agenda. We had a finance committee meeting in January. Those items are also on the agenda. If you don't hear a lot of debate on some of the issues, the finance meetings last 2-3 hours. So quite a bit of debate goes into many of these items. Vacancy list, all council members should have the vacancy list. And lastly, I'll open it up to a public forum on agenda items only. Then we have a public forum at the end of the meeting for any issue here in the city of Troy. So agenda items only at the first public forum. Would anyone like to speak on any item on the agenda? And I do have a list here, and that would be Rocco DeFazio. Rocco. I love Rocco's name. Hi, Rocco. Thank you for joining us.
This evening, we've heard a lot of talk about the plans for the revitalization of the Little Italy neighborhood. Must have been about 20 years ago that I held the first Little Italy meeting. And if you remember Flavors Cafe,
I do. Yeah.
right, we had our first meeting there about 20 years ago. And I passed out sheets of paper to everybody. And on it was our mission statement, our goals, and our objectives. And not knowing 20 years later, being persistent and having people buy into this thought that we would be getting close to $1 million to revitalize that neighborhood. And somebody came up to me, I think it was Chris McDonald, who was our community police officer at the time. Remember Chris?
I do.
One of the greatest
Yeah.
community police officers of all time. Great police
Next
officer.
to my nephew. No.
Okay, yes. So Chris came up to me right after the meeting and goes, you know, this is going to work. I go, why? Because you have a mission statement, you have your goals, you have your objectives. And I mean, I was a school teacher. I was a science teacher before I got into cooking. And it was a scientific method, right? And in your scientific method, the way you do experiments, you need your mission statement, goals, and objectives. So I always, when I would write my lesson plans, I always had my goals, mission statement, objectives. And tonight I'm hoping you will reconsider thinking about, we're bidding on that piece of property that's attached to our, I call it, you ever see the movie, The Money Pit?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Shelley Long.
Shelley Long, tell me. Okay. I've taken some of you people on a tour of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Matter of fact, we just got 240-year-old doors for for our, the building that was built in the 1800s. And what we hope to do is, and I don't know if you know what that piece of building was that we're bidding on. Well, before it was Mashers, it was Bob, Louis DeMaria's gas station.
Oh, right, right. Some-
Louis DeMaria's gas station. My dad would give me $5 on a Saturday night. Station wagon. And we would drive around Saturday nights listening to the Knick games. It was the only way I could get reception on. So I've known that piece of property since I've been 16 years old, but it was Louis DeMaria's gas station. Then it became Mashers, Mickey Mashers and his father's. It was their office. And I used to go there and purchase garlic and spinach from the Masher family. So I know that building. And let me tell you, that building needs to be demolished. Okay. It's really, it's a shed. All right. What we hope to do with it is to make an Italian garden. And it fits in with the almost $1 million revitalization and beautification. And you saw our plans that we submitted. And Duncan and Cal, we've been working with Duncan and Cal. And I don't have to tell you how incredible they are. They're the best. And I think this is a real huge part of finishing our project. We're really, really close. If any of you people want to come and make an appointment with us to see our progress so far, we'd love to take you through it. I think you would be pretty impressed. We're working with the New York State Historical Society. Everything we do has to be approved by them. And if you ever work with these people, it takes time and it takes money. We have to have our own lawyer for it. We have to have our own architect just for that part of the project. So when people say, well, why is it taking so long? Well, we had COVID and we have all these other things. But the main thing is we're making the building historically correct. When you order 140-year-old doors to put in a building that was built, we're doing it the correct way. Just let me say that. So I would really hate to lose that because it's going to be such an incredible addition to the neighborhood. It's going to be a garden where people can sit out there, and people have other ideas for it. And somebody said solar, and I'll tell the people I'm considering putting solar panels on the top of our building. So I will be your, if you don't get the property, I'll be your, I'll be one of your best customers. But I would really like you people to, look at what we've done. I'd like to take everybody on the council to take a look at. We spent close to 7 figures, if not more. And God bless my children for sticking through this. My 3 youngest have joined into this journey. But it was so funny. It was a night like tonight that we had our first little meeting at Flavors Cafe. And I'll never forget what Chris said. This is going to work. And a lot of people have really contributed to this dream come true. And to make it happen with just to have that parcel that, and really the piece of property should be, I've been in there. We're going to make it beautiful. It's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be a great addition to everything else that goes on. And Ian, who's our project manager, I don't know if any of you people know him. He took me for a tour one day of the site because I'm not one of those people that look over your shoulders. So he says, hey, listen, you haven't been down here in 6 months. I'm gonna drag you down there and I'm gonna show you this. So he went through the whole thing. He showed me what he was doing, the terrazzo floors, how he restored those, and the woodwork and everything. And he said, this is my baby. And when a contractor manager tells you this is my baby, he's really proud of it. And so we're proud that we're going to make that neighborhood even more beautiful with the addition of this beautiful garden that we're going to be putting at the end of that building. And again, I would like it if you people would table the vote time and have you guys come down. I'll get Ian, the other members of Duncan and Cal to give you a tour. And I think you will really be impressed of the work. Restaurant like this. Sure, you've seen it.
It's amazing.
It's quite different. And 70 years, we're going on 70 plus years. And we hope to be in business 100 years. So that's what I'm going to tell you. And I think the city council and the department heads and McDonald, if it wasn't for the cooperation and the work you guys did. But thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rocco. Thank you. Thank you. And Rocco, we'll get to that ordinance if you want to stick around. Thank you. All right. Once again, I know some folks signed up to speak tonight. I just do request if it's not on the agenda, there is the second public forum. So next on the list, we do have Greg Campbell-Cone and second public forum. Okay, thank you. Next on the list, I apologize. I should ask folks to, is it Lisa or Lene? Okay, second public forum, very good. Elizabeth Moran, second. Hi, Liz. Rob Hayes, also second. Yep. Sean Collins. Thank you. Aaron Vera. Cool. Luana Dupigny. Oh, okay. We'll sign you up for email too. I'll make sure that City Hall gets. And now we'll open it up. Would anyone like to speak on any item on this evening's agenda? Okay, we're going to close the first public forum, get right into the agenda. Ordinance 1, ordinance authorizing the reconveyance of, Maria, thank you. I'm thinking I'm in the finance. Take it away. Ordinance 1, Maria.
Ordinance authorizing the reconveyance of real property acquired by in rem foreclosure, 157th Avenue. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Ordinance 1 passes.
Ordinance 2.
Ordinance 2, ordinance amending the 2023 budget by appropriating funding from the general fund assigned unappropriated fund balance for the purpose of purchasing new copiers and printers. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Min. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Steele. Inch the outside just a tiny bit. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Ordinance 2 passes.
Ordinance 3.
Ordinance 3, ordinance amending the 2023 budget by appropriating funding from the water fund assigned unappropriated fund balance for the purpose of purchasing materials and supplies for water purification. Council President Mantello at the request of administration.
Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Steele. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Seven ayes, 0 nos, ordinance 3 passes.
Ordinance 4.
Ordinance 4, ordinance amending the 2023 budget by appropriating funding from the debt service funds, other restricted fund balance for the purpose of making short-term principal debt payments in the 2023 fiscal year. Council President Mantel, at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Steele. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Seven ayes, 0 nos, ordinance 4 passes.
Ordinance 5.
Ordinance 5, ordinance authorizing sales of certain city-owned parcels of real property by the proposal sale application method. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Men. Discussion, on the discussion, I want to talk quickly about the properties and hit Rocco's property quick. So a lot of folks ask the process of the foreclosures, and we've really enhanced over the years the foreclosure process. We feel it can even be enhanced more. So the City Council's looking at that, stating that there's a property review committee that looks at back taxes, looks at the properties, looks at each of the proposals. On that property review committee, the deputy mayor code, we have a minority member of the City Council. Councilmember Gully represents the minority, and for the majority, Councilmember Figueroa. There are others on the property review, the assessor and others. So basically, they look at all the properties, and some folks will come up to us sometimes and say, well, we were the highest bid. Years ago, the highest bid did win the proposals, and thankfully it was enhanced to address that issue, because the highest bid is not always the best bid. We want to encourage home ownership. We want to encourage, obviously, folks in Troy who maybe are renting to own a home in Troy. And somebody actually approached us this evening for a South Troy home. So stating that, we first want to tell folks, if you didn't win the bid or you're not awarded, don't get frustrated, don't give up. There is quarterlies. During COVID, it was a little less, but the assessor does try to every 3-4 months get the foreclosures, and they are publicly offered. There's site visits, and we actually have been getting quite a few property bids for our foreclosed properties. So saying that, there were 5 or 6 properties from the list that the council, folks from the public and folks who bid on these properties, shed some light on the properties. So we did lay aside a number of properties, and we actually reviewed a majority of those properties at the last finance meeting. You should know, Rocco and others, whoever's listening, 212 4th Street is a good example. It was on the list, and people came to a public meeting, and they talked to us about that particular property. And some of the bidders actually, taught us some things that aren't on a sheet of paper, because you could put a bid in and, we're reading the bid off a piece of paper, but until you actually hear from the resident or from the public, you really don't really get that vision. And Rocco, you're a perfect example, at least in my eyes, with that vision. I did ask someone from the property review to reach out to you, Rocco, knowing that that property is attached to your restaurant and to your property. And I did ask, for someone to reach out, but I guess that didn't happen. We did lay it aside last time, and what's happening right now down Little Italy is a perfect example, like Rocco said, partnerships. It's not about just DeFazio's. It's not about government. It really is a grassroots movement right now in Little Italy. You have the market that's received federal, state dollars. You have CDTA as a partner. You have the businesses, and new businesses are coming in. More importantly, you have the residents' vision, and you have people like Rocco who have been around a long time and have been promoting the Little Italy neighborhood and talking about this. And to actually see it come to fruition is really, really cool. So I hate to do this, and I know the Property Review Committee gets upset if we lay something aside, but that's what this is all about, to hear from the public and, to really weigh what the public is saying. So saying that, I'm going to make a motion to table 212 4th Street. The motion's on the floor. Is there a second?
There's a second.
Okay,
second
Councilmember Soriento seconds. Discussion on the motion to table. And like I said, I know the property review, we don't like laying aside every property, but when it comes to our attention, remember, the council's not a rubber stamp to the property review. And it's our job to really take into consideration what is happening in a neighborhood and to really listen to people. So we do have a motion. We do have a second. Further discussion. All in favor of tabling 212 4th Street? Aye. Opposed? No. Let's take a slow roll. Maria?
Councilmember Gully,
I'd like to explain my vote. We do hear a lot of stories from all the neighborhoods, but the committee that's put together goes through application after application. We've been through them twice. Both times we came with a resolve that, when we look at that, along with that area, we also have the responsibility to look at our decisions through 51,000 eyes. We have to look in the best benefit of our taxpayers and the individuals in our city. Sometimes when a person has a dream and these pieces are important to them, we respect that. We understand that. But this comes at an 11th hour from an 11th hour last time when we pulled properties. And how, I just think how many times do we do this? How many times do we keep going at this in this way? I just feel really bad because hearing that tonight, the DeFazio family, when I grew up 3 blocks from their original store. I can remember I was telling these guys when I was 10 years old, we used to go down there and get the loaf Italian bread and the cold cuts, and it would cost us like 75 cents. And the Bevavinos and Debonises and Cavallos, we'd all chip in and we get that. So we have a long heritage in that neighborhood. And this what really plays on us in the committee, because we do have those emotional ties. But along with that, we also have a fiduciary responsibility to do our jobs. And sometimes it doesn't always come out in the favor of the person that it does. And I'm not voting no because I don't want to see the property go to anybody else. I'm voting no because we have a process in play and we fractured it over the past month, and it doesn't really help us in this situation to prolong numerous times. So I'm going to vote no.
Thank you, Councilmember Gully.
Councilmember Figueroa, Councilmember Steele,
I'd like to explain my vote. I know.
Can you hear me now? Much like Councilmember Gully said, there is a process in place and we need to follow the process. This has been kicking around for months. It would have been helpful perhaps if we'd had this information beforehand, but by the same token, we need to listen to the review committee. They spend a lot of time looking at these properties, examining them. Absolutely nothing against the proposal that Mr. DeFazio mentioned tonight. It's more a matter of following the process. So I vote no.
Thank you, Councilmember Steele.
Councilmember Men,
I'll also explain my vote. Part of the problem is when you have a lot of great proposals, you say no more than you say yes. And we can always say, bring your great idea again and again and again for future properties. In this particular case, one of the great things is the idea of an Italian garden can still happen because we have the Italian marketplace and are setting up a process for community feedback and creating green spaces that speak to that culinary heritage can be part of that community input and design. So there's an opportunity here, and this also it also creates a space for a new business to be located here in Troy. And the strength in our neighborhoods is the diversity of all the different services, businesses, public spaces that are all within walking distance of our homes. So with that, I do vote no.
Thank you, Councilmember Mann.
Councilmember Conley Wilson,
I'm going to explain my vote as well. I live in this neighborhood. I think it would be really great to see something different. I think having solar would be really great. I'm not sure if the gardening is going to work at the Lily Marketplace because that is a previous brownfields. Or like a hazardous site. So we might not want to put anything in the ground there, but I love the vision of having more gardens around and all of that. But this was, on the agenda back in like November, I want to say. We pulled it then. I think it's time to move forward with this. No.
Councilmember Soriento,
I'm going to vote yes.
Councilmember President Mentella.
I'd like to quickly explain my vote. As I mentioned, and I really wish that someone had reached out to Rocco because during that public meeting when we initially did lay aside, some folks came up with other bidders and they had some good ideas too. Somebody wanted to do gelato and coffee. I know Rocco has a really cool gelato bar happening in the new restaurant. To get back to the vision, I specifically had asked that someone reach out to Rocco, and I don't know if it was in the public meeting or maybe in an email. I'll look it up, but they were like, "Oh, Rocco's good with this proposal that was on the table." So saying that, I'm a little disappointed. I think there was a bit of a communication gap there, and that's why I requested to lay it aside. I'm not looking to prolong this. And I do want to respect all the work from the Property Review Committee. I can't say enough about the hours that you put in, the research, that you go back, look at these properties, look at the actual bidders. We've had folks high in the sky, Cemetery Road. We saw it over on Gurley. That property gone awry. We saw over 124th Street across from Price Chopper. Visions, really good visions, still sitting there, vacant lot with a for sale sign. I'm looking for action, and we see it in the DeFazio family. And honestly, quite frankly, I wish you had contacted me sooner, Rocco, but I did make a last ditch effort knowing, listen, they have a track record. This is literally like connected to their property, but I do encourage the council to please make an appointment with Rocco because what they're doing with that restaurant is absolutely incredible. They're really protecting the integrity, the heritage, the history of that building. They're putting in like thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And Duncan Cahill, the engineering firm, has just done a fabulous job restoring the site. So I am disappointed, but at the same time, I do hope that the proposal that's being voted on tonight does come to fruition. And because clearly my concern is it's connected to everything that's happening in Little Italy. So think about it. Millions of dollars are being invested in that hub along that corridor. And then if nothing happens there, you're going to have this blighted piece of property connected to all that's happening. So I really just pray that this is going to come to fruition. Let's just say the city has not been really aggressive with reverters, and we do have blighted buildings around the city on foreclosed properties that the city council has passed. So anyway, needless to say, I am going to vote no. I'm going to vote yes on the amendment, but unfortunately it does fail, but I do hope that the developer comes through.
5 noes, 2 ayes. The amendment does not pass.
Okay, on the original resolution, we have a motion, we have a second. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No. 6 ayes, 1 no. Ordinance 5 passes.
Okay. Ordinance 6.
Ordinance 6, ordinance authorizing the sale of a certain city-owned parcel of real property by the proposal sale application method. Councilmember Gully at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Steele. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
5 ayes, 2 noes. Ordinance 6 passes.
Ordinance 7.
Ordinance 7, ordinance authorizing the sale of a certain city-owned parcel of real property by the proposal sale application method. Council President Mantel at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Mann. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Ordinance 7 passes.
Ordinance 8.
Ordinance 8, ordinance authorizing the sale of a certain city-owned parcel of real property by the proposal sale application method. Council President Mantel at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Steele. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Recuse.
Thank you. Councilmember Soriento refuses.
6 ayes, 1 abstain, 1 recusal. Ordinance 8 passes.
Thank
I'll get it
you.
one day.
He will. Ordinance 9.
Ordinance 9, ordinance authorizing the sale of a certain city-owned parcel of real property by the proposal sale application method. Council President Mantel at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Steele. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Ordinance 9 passes.
Resolution 4.
Resolution 4, resolution appointing Commissioner of Deeds for the City of Troy. Council President Mantello.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Mann. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Resolution 4 passes.
Resolution 5.
Resolution 5, resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement by and between the City of Troy and MXI Environmental Services LLC. Council President Mantel at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Steele. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Min. I would just tell folks, these are hazardous waste days. Keep on the lookout. You'll be hearing of a notice to sign up for these incredibly attended events and obviously very worthwhile. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Resolution 5 passes.
Resolution 6.
Resolution 6, a resolution authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance 100% of the federal aid and state Marshall program aid eligible costs of a transportation federal aid project and appropriating funds therefore. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion?
Council President.
Yes, Councilmember Conley Wilson.
This is another piece of legislation that impacts my district. I'm real excited to see the South Troy Industrial Park move forward. We really need that in there. So we're diverting the traffic from residential areas to more commercial ones. So I'm very excited to see this moving.
Thank you, Councilmember Conley Wilson. And when you heard my disappointment, we have a 353-page agenda. And I got to the page I wanted to get and it blanked out on me. Okay, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Resolution 6 passes.
Resolution 7.
Resolution 7, resolution proclaiming the month of February 2023 as Black History Month in the City of Troy, New York. Council President Mantello, Councilmember Steele, Councilmember Figueroa, Councilmember Gully, Councilmember Conley Wilson, Councilmember Soriento, Councilmember Mann.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Min. On the discussion, please indulge me. I'd like to read this resolution. Whereas Black History Month was founded by Dr. Carter G. Woodson and was first celebrated on February 1st, 1926. And whereas since 1976, Black History Month has become a nationally recognized month-long celebration held each year during the month of February to acknowledge and pay tribute to African Americans and their achievements. And whereas this month-long celebration commemorates the extraordinary efforts, accomplishments, and victories of African Americans in their long endeavor to develop and promote equal opportunity and social equality throughout the United States. And whereas Black History Month is a time to celebrate the memory and strength of the spirit of those people of color in our nation's history who triumphed over adversity and rose above their social circumstances to build dignified lives for themselves, and in so doing left an honorable cultural legacy for those who follow in their paths. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tri-City Council commends the African American community and does hereby proclaim the month of February 2023 as Black History Month in the city of Troy, New York, and be it further resolved that this month and throughout the year, we commit ourselves to raising our awareness and appreciation of the histories and cultures of our nation's people of color, and may their American spirit continue to enrich our daily lives. We have a motion. We have a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Resolution 7 passes.
Resolution 8.
Resolution 8, resolution appointing a commissioner of deeds for the city of Troy. Council President Mantello.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Soriento. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Resolution 8 passes.
Resolution 9.
Resolution 9, resolution appointing a commissioner of deeds for the city of Troy. Council President Mantello.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Men. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Recuse.
6 ayes, 1 recusal. Resolution 9 passes.
Resolution 10.
Resolution 10, resolution appointing a commissioner of deeds for the city of Troy. Council President Mantello.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Men. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Recused.
6 ayes, 1 recusal. Resolution 10 passes.
Resolution 11.
Resolution 11, resolution appointing commissioner of deeds for the city of Troy. Councilmember Gully.
Remember, this resolution was amended. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Soriento. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Recuse.
6 ayes, 1 recusal. Resolution 11 passes.
Resolution 12.
Resolution 12, resolution of the Troy City Council scheduling a public hearing in connection with the discontinuance of Canal Avenue, which is now going to be Canal Street, between Franklin Street and Third Street in order to expand the Canal Avenue Park. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Steele. Maria, the date for the public?
It is February 16th at 5:15.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 noes. Resolution 12 passes.
Resolution 13.
Resolution 13, resolution of the Troy City Council scheduling a public hearing in connection with the discontinuance of Hill Street between 4th Street and Liberty Street and traffic flow changes on Hill Street and Liberty Street. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Men. Discussion. Maria, the date. February 16th.
February 16th at 5:45.
Thank you. Further discussion.
5:30.
5:20. 5:15 and 5:20. And then 5:30, just for folks out there, the public utilities will meet regarding the lead issue. That's 5:30 on February 16th. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 no's. Resolution 13 passes.
Great. We'll now open it up to the second public forum. We'll go by the sheet and then we'll open it up to anyone else that would like to speak. Greg Campbell, Cone. Oh, I'm so sorry. Shauna, you did. I apologize. I'm so sorry. And you have a baby. What's his name?
Felix.
Hello, Felix. Welcome to the City Council.
And I feel like I'm out of breath
You
bouncing.
could
in the back.
pull that right out. It comes out, whatever. If you could pull it right down. Thank you. Hi, Felix.
He should be asleep by now.
We all should. No.
Yeah. Immediately after finding out my child had lead in his blood, he hit the ground running, trying to fix the issue. I received a free water kit from New York State to test our water, and the results came back a few weeks later, alarmingly high. I contacted the water department in the city to report the issue and was told that they couldn't count because they weren't tested by the lab the city used. We collected further samples for the city, and again, a few weeks later, the results came back almost identical and still very high. And I'm talking 3 times the allowable amount of lead in my drinking water. From here, I started Googling resources and almost immediately found the article from 2017 announcing that the city had received over $500,000 in state aid to start replacing lead service lines. It took a month of frequent emails and phone calls, but I finally had the opportunity to talk directly to Chris Whelan in late December. He told me a number of things. Number one, that this dollar amount was a drop in the bucket and that action wouldn't be taken until the EPA dispersed more funds in 2025. That about a year and a half ago, he put a spending plan in front of this council and it was now out of his hands. That it was the homeowner's responsibility to dig up the service line. He vividly remembers the day his dad dug up theirs and questioned whether or not my husband could do the same. And lastly, that he grew up with lead pipes and that he is fine today. That is the definition of survivalist mentality, and is disgusting to say to a mother who was 8 months pregnant, dealing with lead in the blood of her child who has a speech delay and other sensory issues, both of which are known side effects of lead being present in the blood. Excuse me. I reached out to the county. There's no assistance if lead is found in the water versus paint. No stipends are provided for homeowners who are forced to run their water for at least a minute once a day, sometimes twice if they work outside of the home. No stipends for those who choose to buy bottled water. No filters are handed out like they do in the suburbs of some suburbs of Colorado to all residents until the lead pipe issue is resolved. No stipends are provided for vitamins and supplements and high quality food that could be used to flush the lead from a child's body. There isn't even a simple blurb on the city's website indicating what type of certification to look for in a filter should a resident have the means to purchase one. Simply put, the city is lacking in supporting this major crisis. I've included your office, Mr. Madden, in a slew of emails to Chris Whelan over the last 3 months, asking pertinent information regarding the spending of the funds in 2018 and the support you're offering residents. And those emails were left ignored. I emailed you, Council Representative President Mantello, with my concerns, and you never replied. It wasn't until the luck of social media that I connected with my peers and fellow advocates that I started receiving replies and information through the grapevine. I know, Mayor Madden, that you pivoted the responsibility back onto the residents to report lead service lines before taking action, and that you are concerned developing a plan that's fair for all residents. But what's not fair is feeling left unheard because I'm simply a mother. And the biggest injustice at hand is that the money was left unspent and unused over the last 5 years while children are still being exposed to contaminate year after year after year. My child is 2.5. I want to know why this money hasn't been spent yet, and I want to know who specifically dropped the ball. I am looking forward to hearing your plans within the next month on how this money will be spent and how the city plans to replace all the lead service lines within the city. Clean drinking water shouldn't be available to only those who can afford it. And I, this mother, am not going to sleep until I have those answers, and I will be there on February 16th.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Greg, thank you.
Hey guys, my name is Greg Campbell Cohen. I'm the managing officer of Timber and I live at 342 Congress Street. I trust you all have already received my public comments. If you haven't, I have a copy here with me and I'm happy to give it to you. I'd like to start by thanking Council Members Menn and Conlon Wilson for giving this issue the attention it deserves. Having already sent my public comments, I don't think I need to reiterate it. But I will just say quickly, I was stunned the other day when I read a serendipitously timed Albany Times Union article that claimed that these funds were recently awarded to Troy. These funds were awarded to Troy on March 1st of 2018. That's when they became available. What you see in Albany right now with their lead service lines, that's the next grant. They finished this in 2020. And so if March 1st, 2018 feels recent to you, here are some New York Times headlines of things that have happened since then. April 26, 2018, Bill Cosby is found guilty of sexual assault. Does that feel recent? January 26, 2020, NBA star Kobe Bryant dies in California helicopter crash. Feels like it happened a while ago. January 10th, 2020, China reports first death from new virus. This money has been around for a very long time. Troy is the only city to have not touched it yet. It's unbelievable. It is unconscionable. So I'll set that aside. My friend Jen Baumstein today cannot join us. So I'd like to speak her words very quickly. When I talk about pregnancy or gestation, is in her voice, not my own. My name is Jennifer Baumstein, and I live at 567 3rd Avenue in Lansingburg. A year ago today, we made an offer on our new home. I was pregnant, and now I have a disgustingly cute kid. And there wasn't room in our 1-bedroom apartment in our 2-family home. I share this today because I want to set the picture of a regularly busy person, multitasking, gestating, and going about the process of life. I'm well aware of the inner workings of the city and adept at navigating red tape. Our first home was purchased in 2016 with support from Tripp and HUD. We had to become lead paint abaters, so we understand lead better than most. When we received the note in the spring to test our lead lines for lead, well, buried the lead there a little, we had every intention of doing it. Again, lead in Troy is not new information to us, but I was busy and tired and pregnant. And frankly, the onus should not have been on us to complete the task. So we continued on with our days and drank 90 ounces of lead-filled water daily so I could remain as healthy as possible during my pregnancy. I and others in a Troy Kids email listserv received word from Jonna in January and was prompted to revisit the tome of instructions sent by the city. Unsurprisingly, our home from 1890 had a lead service line. The good folks of the water department worked to get a sample collection vessel out the next day, and we are awaiting results. As the note from Monday's press release states, during pregnancy, the child receives lead from the mother's bones, which may affect brain development. It's too late for us, but there are hundreds, really thousands, of much busier, less informed, and already marginalized folks who don't have the capacity to perform their so-called civic duty to respond to this mess. We're taking all the necessary steps to move forward, but this is not an issue that needs individual attention. Thank you to those who are working to address the problem. And I guess the only thing I would add to that is shame on you if you are getting in the way of addressing the problem. 5 years. You can't make it up.
Thanks, Greg. Next on the list, we have, and this one's a tough one, Lene. Yes. Hi there.
Okay, you hear me? All right, so my name is Lena Hendrickson. I'm Norwegian originally, but I live here in Rensselaer County, 57 Washington Avenue in Rensselaer. Dear City Council, I lived in the Detroit Flint area in 2014 when lead was found in the water there. 30,000 children were exposed to lead, rendering them open for permanent brain damage and developing a lower IQ from the exposure of lead in their water. Outbreaks of Legionnaires' disease killed at least 12 people and dozens were sickened. Lead in the water looks like this. Children start losing their hair. They develop breathing problems. They grow stunted. They develop severe asthma, and they have a shorter lifespan. There are no safe level of lead in the water. None. And if folk tells you otherwise, they have been drinking the Kool-Aid. Flint and Troy have many similarities. They are both mid-sized cities and have an industrial past. They are old industrial places where lead pipes have been used in connecting water lines and inside houses. The fact is that old pipes corrode. If these pipes are not treated with anti-corrosion measures, the lead leaks into the tap water. Of course, the actual solution is to replace these old pipes. I am not an engineer, and I do not think anyone in this room needs to be to understand that lead is bad. It is deadly. You know it, and we know it. It is not enough to hand out free water filters. Though this is the first thing that should happen, and it should happen now. Folks who live with lead pipes cannot bathe, brush their teeth, or do laundry with lead-tainted water. Bottled water is laughable. It's a laughable solution seen in this light. It also causes enormous plastic pollution that the city have to solve as well. It might be a Band-Aid for a period of time. It took over 3 years for Flint to get a grip of the situation. It cost millions. Today, Flint marks 6 consecutive years of compliance with lead standard. This is described as lead to be below 15 parts per billion. And action level, and in Flint, the level have now been 9 parts per billion for the last 6 consecutive years. So I'm just saying this to make sure that we understand that this can be solved. This can be solved. And Troy,
Lena, I am going to ask you to wrap it up.
I'm
in the
wrapping up
next
now.
minute.
Yep.
Thank you.
Troy does not want to be Flint. This can only happen if the city council, the mayor, and all departments take action now. We are not talking about more surveys, postcards, etc. A task force needs to be established and run in full cooperation so that the pipes can be identified and replaced. This is hard digging and hard work. Luckily, you can trust and reach out to folk who know how to organize this at other departments, for example, in Flint. And please, let us not plan to hire some fancy firm and pay them millions to do more statistics. It is a practical problem that needs to be handled as such. I also think it would suit the city to establish a public website where progress can be measured and seen on a weekly basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lena. Thank you. Elizabeth.
Good evening. My name is Liz Moran, and I am speaking both as a resident of the city of Troy for the past 10 years and also in my professional capacity as the New York policy advocate for Earth Justice. Earth Justice is the nation's first and largest legal environmental nonprofit organization. We do a lot of work related to lead, and that is why I'm here today. I think it's so to begin. The public has a basic right and expectation of government that the water that comes through their taps is going to be safe and healthy to drink. And right now, Troy is failing on that very basic expectation. I want to give some context as to why this state level funding actually exists. I'm going to bring it a little bit more local. Flint is part of this, as you just heard, but I'm actually going to bring it to continue here in Rensselaer County to Hoosick Falls, New York. There's some parallels that I think you all should be extremely disturbed by from Jana's story. In Hoosick Falls, they ended up finding out that the government was covering up toxic levels of PFAS contamination in their drinking water. And what brought that to light was a resident whose father died from a disease that is associated with exposure to PFAS contamination. And he had to make a stink about it. It is shameful that there is any type of comparison that can be made between what happened in Hoosick Falls and what's going on here in Troy with lead service lines, because this was entirely preventable. So the Hoosick Falls drinking water crisis prompted New York State to really change their tune when it came to addressing drinking water quality issues in New York. And they created the Clean Water Infrastructure Act, which is a multi-billion-dollar program to help municipalities across the state address drinking water issues. Flint happened around the same time, which is why there was lead service line replacement funds. So New York State wouldn't have a Flint-like crisis. So the fact that the city of Troy has had this money for 5 years is nothing short of disgraceful. And as you've heard, there's quite possibly attributable lead poisoning cases as a result of this inaction. So I want to note a couple things as to why it's particularly inexcusable that this money hasn't been spent. Number one, the city of Troy actually didn't have to accept this money from the state. The Department of Health went through a process where they evaluated what municipalities would make most sense to receive these funds. The city did not have to accept, but there must have been some understanding that there's likely an issue here, and that's why the city took this money. So that's part one. Part two is there's actually a lot directed from the Department of Health website as to how you can start using this money, how you can identify places with lead service lines. You can start by looking at a list of houses that are dated 1940 and older. And then lastly, it's not like the criteria here is particularly high to just replace a lead service line. Any part of the pipe, as long as it's lead, has to be replaced. So along with the other residents of the city of Troy and colleague organizations that are also here today, we are calling the city to develop a plan immediately to remediate the situation and start using these funds. We will be submitting comments in writing. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Next, we have Rob Hayes. You could pull it right up, Rob.
Oh, I will be.
Okay. Just offered some advice.
No, thank you. I always have to. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Rob Hayes, and I'm the Director of Clean Water for Environmental Advocates New York. EANY is an Albany-based nonprofit environmental organization dedicated to changing public policy to protect public health and further environmental justice. As the Director of Clean Water with the organization, I spend a lot of time working on lead service line issues, trying to move our state in the direction of replacing every single one of these pipes. And really, we are here tonight to support the residents that you're hearing from that have a problem, that have been exposed to lead, that have been ignored by their city, and that want action. Liz, my colleague Liz Moran just said that one of the city's basic responsibilities is to protect clean water for its residents. And it seems like the city has completely failed in this scenario. And one of the ways that we can see that the city has failed in that is comparing what Troy has done over the last several years to what other cities have done. We were mentioning earlier that many other cities in New York had received this lead pipe replacement funding that Troy also got in 2018. And in the written comments that you received from environmental advocates, there's a list of some of the communities across the state that have already spent 100% of the funds that they received. To clarify again, Troy has spent 0% of their funds. The city of Albany, just across the river, they spent all of their funds by March of 2021. Schenectady spent it by June of 2021. Rochester by March of 2020. This is years ago that these cities took action to eliminate lead threats in their community. Troy took no action in the same time period, and it is mind-boggling and it is unacceptable. I think there's an important point to make here that Troy's not taking action over the last 5 years. It's not like it just had no effect. That non-action caused harm because that meant that hundreds of city residents had to continue to be exposed to lead in their drinking water when they didn't have to be. They didn't have to be. The city could have done pipe replacements, protected those residents' health, but they didn't do it. In EANY's testimony, you'll find a long list of actions that we believe the city should be taking immediately to put it on a path towards 100% lead pipe replacement, to spending this money as swiftly and equitably as possible, especially prioritizing those residents who have lead poisoned kids or in low income areas, and making sure that the city doesn't delay any longer in protecting public health. So I'm probably close to time, and I know there are many others after me that can say all this a lot more eloquently than I can. So thank you for the opportunity to come here.
Thank you, Rob. Very helpful. Thank you. Sean Collins.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sean Collins. I am the president of the Troy Area Labor Council, and I live at 118 7th Avenue in Troy and Lansingburg neighborhood. This morning, I had a plumber over to replace my water heater. My wife and I bought a house about 1.5 years ago, and the water heater is getting old, needs to be replaced. Fortunately, I had seen the emails and had heard from many of the folks here about what is going on. I asked the plumber, can you go check out my lead service line? I had some issues with the test. Fortunately, he was able to help me while I waited for the city to get back to me to say, yes, you have a lead service line. My wife, Ashley, is 9 months pregnant, basically. She's due any minute now. And this was certainly not exciting news to receive on the cusp of us having our first child. I am astounded that the city has had this money in its possession since 2018, or in access to this money since 2018, and has taken no action. Many of you have been on the city council for years. This is not something that you could say you were not aware of. We live in the Northeast. These homes are across the city are all, or not all, but many of them are very old. You know this is something that's going on. And there seems to have been no proactive action on the part of the city council, on the part of the mayor and his administration, nothing. I don't understand how this is allowed to go on. And as always, when these sorts of things happen, who are the ones who are most affected by it? Women, particularly pregnant women, working class folk, low income folks, people of color, people who don't own their homes, like a majority of your constituents, a majority of the residents of the city, who have to rely on often negligent landlords who don't provide, decent, maintain decent homes to begin with, and certainly can't be relied on to replace lead service lines and other major infrastructure, repairs that their properties might have. And so, you know, your delay, not only it just is unconscionable, but I think that the point that Rob and the others made is that it always affects the folks who, you know, aren't like myself, who weren't able to pay $1,500 to get their water heater replaced, and are fortunate enough to have a plumber there who could verify this. They don't have this, and they don't have a city council or a city administration that apparently is on top of the side of it because they've allowed it to go on for 5 years. It's shameful. Everyone who has sought immediate action is right. The city council needs to act on this immediately, and make sure that the folks who have been affected by this are given the care that they need. Because oftentimes, because these folks are poor and working class, they also don't have access to health care. So that's all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sean. Erin Vera.
Good evening. Most of you know me. I'm a local resident. I live on Hill Street. My story predates the funding that was made available to the city in March of 2018. My son, who was born in June of 2016, at his 1-year checkup, 12-month checkup, was tested for lead levels, and we received notice from the county shortly thereafter that he had elevated blood lead levels. We, immediately took action. We understand, we need to do testing on the water. We did that with a lab locally, discovered that it in fact was the water that was contributing to these lead levels. And, we went out, bought a filter, resolved the issue that way. I suppose what's more irking to me about this story is that, again, as most of you know, I served as the city engineer between June of 2020 and this recent December. And I was unaware that the city had this funding available when I was in a position to possibly assist and aid the residents of the city resolving an issue that affected me personally, or my son personally. I just hope that some action can be taken. And while I'm sure this offer will be ignored, I would offer assistance if I can in any way. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Luana Dupigny. I hope I'm pronouncing that. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, mailing list. Would anyone else like to speak on anything happening in your neighborhood? Sure. Please come up and just state your name, and you don't have to give your specific address, but approximate where you live. Thank you.
My name is Daniel Killian, and I live in South Troy. I'm so deeply sorry for the people who are negatively affected by this lead issue. I didn't even know that it was going on. My issue seems smaller now by comparison, but nevertheless, it's something that
I would just ask that's why we have, there's interference. You can hold it. You can hold it, but if you could stay behind the podium, there's interference. Thank you.
So, Irene and Carmel, you all know that I've discussed this issue before, and where I get a bill for garbage for a vacant building, right? And when I asked about this, they said, well, you got a waiver for a vacant building fee. So you have to pay the garbage bill. Either you have to pay the vacant building.
I didn't tell you that.
No, you didn't tell me this. Everybody in the city, but except for. So I went back and forth with you guys. You guys tried to, send me to the council. I never got any other answer except that this is how it is, right? Which is not really an acceptable answer to me as a citizen, a taxpayer, from your government. Like, there should be, this is the law, this is the statute, this is not just, well, that's how we do it. That's like mobster stuff. The scene from Goodfellas comes to mind. Forget you, pay me. I wasn't paying the garbage bill for this because I had hopes that we would straighten out something that is completely nonsensical. It's a vacant building. To say that you have a vacant building fee waiver, you got waived for that because I have a receipt here from TAP for thousands of dollars for drawings that I'm getting so that I can fix this building because I'm part of this city. 10 years as a small business owner in the city, taking reclaimed lumber from this city when they're remodeling places and they have these old beams from the 1800s. I'll take and make beautiful pieces of furniture that are around businesses and homes in this city. To have them tell me that's just too bad. That's just how we do it. And then when I didn't pay it because I was hoping for a resolution, they levied my taxes so that I was incapable of not paying it. Either I pay the garbage bill money now, or I don't pay my taxes and I'm a delinquent on my taxes. That's atrocious. It's atrocious. It's bullying. Why can't this get straightened out? Why can't somebody tell me the actual, I want to see it in writing, the law that if you have a vacant building, that you have to pay for garbage. Why do I have to pay for a service that I'm not using? There's no garbage coming from the building. By definition, it's a vacant building. I don't get water or sewage bill from that building. Why don't I get a water or sewage bill from that building? Why? Because I don't use the water in that building and I don't use sewage. But I also don't use garbage. So why am I getting this bill? It costs all the money that I can muster to fix this building, to fix the house that I bought from the city through the foreclosure list, which is wonderful. Again, a renter. I was a renter. I was paying into a landlord that didn't even live in this area. And I managed to buy my first home. And now I'm a homeowner. And then I didn't even look to buy this second building that's right next door. You can touch the two buildings. The assessor offered it to me and said, hey, when there's a building next door, we like to offer it first to, and I said, oh man, I don't know if I can handle it. It's in really rough shape. Well, I bid on it and they gave it to me. Now they're asking me to pay it's $260 of monies that could be going into fixing the property. It doesn't make sense that they keep sending me these garbage bills and then won't answer any questions on why. If it's a vacant building, then it shouldn't ever get a garbage bill because by definition, there's no one there to generate garbage. So I'm just this really broke my heart when I looked at my taxes. Why did my taxes go up by $260 this time around? Oh, well, you never paid that garbage bill. I said, well, I never put out any garbage. So,
And Dan, we agree with you. I think the comptroller is in the back and I would like you to sit down with the comptroller or make an appointment because, yeah, I agree. We agree. There is no legislation. It's a policy that the administration enforces. So I'd like to hook you up with the comptroller. I'm sure he'd be happy to sit down with you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Would anyone else like to speak on any city issue? Hey, how are you, Frank?
Hey,
You could pull it right down.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know you're not shy.
Not at all. Hi, so my name is Frank. North Central, 58 years in the area. Concerned with that is over the years, right? We don't want another death amongst our youth, amongst our middle age, amongst anyone in our area. We haven't had that in short yet. We have had shootings, right? We have had that, but we haven't had any deaths. We don't want any. We have come up with, we have devised, we putting together a lot of things to try to just change the paradigm, try to change the way our children or adults, how they see things so that they can react different, right? Unless we change the way they see it, they're always going to do the same thing. If we can change the way they see things, then we can change the way they react to them. We can get a different outcome. We don't want another death, right? We've had enough. More than enough. Okay, so one action is simple things and just bear with us. And we've been working with the council. I'm excited right now to see that we have so many new council, right? Because it's going to be changed, right? That means it's going to be changed. Things are going to change. New council means new things for Troy. So I'm excited. I'm excited for Troy. One of the things before I get into this one, it's going to be quick, is if you will, we're asking that you please look into the needle exchange program that Catholic Charities does, or that's happening at the Unity House.
Frank, if you could speak in the mic,
Yep.
thanks.
exchange program. We actually looked into that, what Catholic Charities was doing down there in Unity House. That needle exchange program has not been very good in our area. It's right there at the bottom of Music in 6th Avenue in Troy. It's right in North Central. It seems like everything that has something to do with like drugs or anything wrong, they try to fix it in North Central. Put them somewhere else. We don't want needle exchange program in North Central. We got caught up for that. And somebody will look into that and see how that's going. It's like every Tuesday and Thursday. And we're getting these needles, and there's supposed to be a good exchange, and it's happening right there. But we're finding all of these needle exchange in the needles, in our buildings, in our streets, in our parks, in our abandoned buildings. These people are squatting with these needles. We're watching them walk away from these vans where they're getting the needles from this. Can we fix this? Please, we don't want the needle exchange. If we're going to have a needle exchange, put it in everybody's district. Just put it in the district, or just put it in North Central. Put it everywhere. Let everybody get a needle exchange program in our areas. All right, please. I just want to say now, one of the things we're going to do, we're asking all the districts right to be in. I just had a wonderful meeting with our deputy mayor, Mr. Nolan. We've always had support from our mayor, Maddie. And as you can see, we gave you all of you this. I also had outstanding report and response from your leader here on the council. We want to say I was in charge of, as you can see, there is a color copy. I was in charge of making the copy, so they're all black and white now. You can see the color went, and I want to apologize to Carmelo because her name's on there. You're going to see it says Carmelo. It's actually Carmelo. We know that. So,
It's okay, I'm a candy bar. I've been called worse. You name it. Frank, if you could hold that thought, I have to ask, the door's locked downstairs. You know, Maria, we sent to First Columbia. This is, you know, the unfortunate challenge is when you rent a floor and not have a city hall. Seamus, can you please go downstairs? Thank you. Sorry, Frank. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry, Frank.
all right, yes, absolutely. So I'm just going to try to read from this. So what we're doing is we're going to have, it's going to be our spring bling. I'm going to read from this first. And so this is Message Community Solidarity. We're better for our breakthrough. We have an outstanding guy, and Mr. Tom Ross, who runs our Uncle Sam Lanes down in Troy. He does everything he can to help us support us in our fundraising, anything that we can do to try to make a difference and save some lives in our area. So, we want to say that. So we're going to have representatives and participants from the whole offices. We'll also have participants and representatives from the districts. Under, of course, the president, North Central, District 2, there's Steve, he knows these things, and he can, I'm pretty sure he'll reach out to everyone else in the districts and make sure those things happen. We're also going to have, so Trip is doing a thing with us. We work with Trip. We have a thing around the cleanest community. We're trying to be that. We do this seasonally, seasonal events. That's going to happen there as well. This is going to happen at the Troy Bowling. It's going to happen on March 5th. It's going to happen from 4 to 7. All the proceeds will go to benefit our forthcoming mentors, big sister type of program that we're pushing. Try to get back in line, right? And we can right where the changes that we so desperately need. So desperately need. So we'll stretch it much more here. I just want to say, again, we'll have representatives and participants from the mayor, deputy office, along with representation participants from all the districts led by the council member. And this is, so come and knock them down with us, okay? Come as every pen that falls in that bill now will represent our breaking down and building to cross over and cross out the negatives that have been so violent and present, right? And within our communities. That's all of our communities. Come down with us, come down with us. I never like when Troy, especially with gun violence, and this is happening. To be to do this again, you're with us again, against Steve, we can't move another night. I got new things. Thanks again.
Thank you, Frank. Would anyone else like to address the council? Yes, Pastor, and then come on up. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Giving honor to the mayor, president, and the council members. That's a hard act to follow there, Brother Frank. It's very good, well spoken. And again, my heart goes out to those that are experiencing the lead poison issue. But my reason for coming up here today is the constituents in the North Central Troy area who I'm the pastor of United Ordained Church at 101st and 6th Avenue. Our sidewalks there are in bad condition. The constituents that are in wheelchairs, moving wheelchairs, have to ride and walk in the middle of the street in order to get to the bus stop or to the corner store. So we're seeking a system, not for the church itself, but for the community to have decent sidewalks to travel to and from their homes to get to downtown Troy or to any other area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Pastor. I think, yes, please come on up. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name's Hunter. I've been living in Troy for the past 6 years or so.
Hunter, just your last name also, please, for the record,
Share,
just like it sounds.
just like it sounds.
Thanks.
I've been living in Troy for the past 6 years or so. During that time, I've been working with a lot of nonprofits in the area, mostly with low income and disabled communities. I'm also a Rensselaer County born and raised, so I'm no stranger to having bad stuff in my blood. Got awfully high PFOA levels from living in Petersburg and from working and attending summer programs in Hoosick Falls for my entire childhood. So while I was really disappointed to learn about the lead issues that came to light in Troy recently, I'm not particularly surprised because I've been living with this stuff my whole life, as have many of the peers that I grew up with out in those communities. So I guess with that out of the way, I would just be curious to know if y'all have made any plans to ask for more money or plans to ask for an extension on the money that you've been sitting on for 5 years.
Yeah, just so you know, at least myself, the superintendent, I did speak to him. He did say that they were trying to access more money. As this public forum closes, I am going to ask the mayor if he would like to address what's been said tonight, but I'm sure I have asked the superintendent to put out grant program proposal by February 16th, the Public Utilities Committee meeting. And obviously get those monies that they have out on the street, but additionally to access the other pots of money. I believe EPA has another pot of money that they're appropriating to DOH. So the superintendent, he's putting together proposals and he's also putting together legislation to amend the rules and regs for private property easements.
That is so thrilling to hear.
No, that really, it's, you know, it needs to go out yesterday. So
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
thank you, Hunter. Would anyone else like to address the council?
Good evening. I'm here tonight to speak about the public safety meeting from January 26th. I was invited to speak at that meeting and was declined by the public safety chair. If you look in the rules of the city council and the committees, it clearly states the council rules, the public may speak for 4 minutes at committee meetings, public forums, and 3 minutes at regular or special meeting public forums. Comments at committee meetings must be regarding agenda items. There was an agenda that night. The fire department was on it. I was told there had to be legislation. There was no legislation. The language isn't ambiguous. I think my civil rights were violated, my freedom of speech. to represent my members and their safety concerns, but I'm here tonight to finish that. I'm gonna start with this graph here that you've all been given a copy of, right? Since the ambulance was started in 1996 in the city of Troy, calls have increased 134% in that period. We've gone from 1,500 calls to 13,817 calls. At the same time, the manning has increased 0%. We do almost 3 times as many calls with the same 24 guys a day. Let that sink in, how busy they are. Every ambulance calls an hour, just about. And that's pretty discerning that we do that. We take fire trucks off duty to run ambulances for long periods of time. We don't have enough guys to show up at a fire when the ambulances are out. So let me get to the fire at 31 2nd Street that was talked about last week. I'd like to thank Ricky Ferris, the gentleman that was rescued, for coming to speak last week. His sister Jean Ferris, her husband Jim, and sister Lori for supporting the fire department. Those people are taxpayers and citizens. They're feeling the wrath of what's going on here, right? They didn't have an ambulance to transport their Ricky, their brother, to the hospital. They were told there was an ambulance on scene, and I'll get to that in a minute. Those guys that rescued them were ambulance guys. They were in turnout gear with Scott packs. They were in firefighting mode. There's claims of abandonment. The guy was removed from the danger. He was breathing, he was talking, he was telling them that there's more people in there. They went looking for more people. The chief requested a mutual aid ambulance. So I'm gonna go through the times here from the chief, right? You want the fire coming at 00:08, 8 minutes after midnight. Call for arrived at 00:09. Signal 30 was transmitted at 00:15. That brings you car 1, car 2, car 6, and car 3. The first of those to arrive was 00:31. At 00:18, Medic 4 reports a victim hanging out the window on the first floor. It's a brownstone row house. It's an elevated window. There's a walkway stairwell to get to the basement apartment in front of it, so you can't just get up to the window. They had to put a ladder up to get the gentleman out. And at 00:21, they reported the gentleman's removed from the building. At 00:20, a second alarm was requested. Brings engine 3, water leaks engine, the arson's truck. At 00:29, the battalion chief requests a mutual aid ambulance. 10 minutes after arrival. There's no ambulance on the scene. The Greenbush ambulance comes from the other end of Lineskill. Ambulance number RE55. They arrived at 00:45, 16 minutes after they were requested, right? And then they leave to go to the hospital at 01:01. That's unacceptable. If Medic 3 was still on duty, like we asked at the December 1st budget meeting, if we could find the money to keep it on duty, because calls were up 1,000 at that point, right? 100 calls a month. We knew it was going to end for the construction, but we asked if we could find the money to keep it on duty, right? Because it was working for the increased call volume. We didn't get an answer. At the December 27th labor management meeting with Chief McMahon, our first thing every meeting is we request more manpower. He said there's no money for it. We asked him for it. He says there's no money for it. He's not fighting for more guys, and he's got a boss. So we're here fighting for more guys to keep that ambulance on duty. So I got a folder with all this information for you guys. I'll give it at the end. I got a couple articles I'm going to read some quick things from, but you can read the whole things if you want. Here is a fire rescue article, and it talks why so many firefighters don't become paramedics. I'm going to read number 2 to you. The ambulance. When compared to a suppression apparatus, which is a fire truck, being assigned to an ambulance means longer hours away from the station, more territory to cover. It brings paperwork, liability, the constant battle to remain professional in the face of disgruntled nurses at overcrowded hospitals. And because firefighter paramedic numbers are so limited, many are being forced to spend the majority of their careers in ambulances due to department necessity. They're stuck. Firefighters and firefighters, EMTs see what is happening, and many are choosing to ride backwards on a fire truck rather than being assigned to an ambulance for the next 20 years.
So you skip to the end and it says, what do we do now? This is for all the problems I listed above, there are solutions. Some less complicated than others, but none can happen overnight. It starts at the top with those responsible for cultivating a culture of success. Fire chiefs, if you're wondering why your fire department isn't growing its own paramedics, the problem isn't in the seeds, it's in the soil. Go to your city councils. This article is telling your chiefs to go to your city councils, your fire boards, your citizens, help them understand what firefighter paramedics do and what it will mean if we run out. Garner their support to create an environment where firefighters are willing to go through the struggle of achieving the gold standard of pre-hospital care are valued. Fight for your firefighter paramedics as hard as you fight for that new fire engine. Show them that you care, because if you don't, why should anyone else? The chief has previously said that we meet the first alarm assignment requirements for a fire. And that's kind of a little misleading. This is the NFPA, the federally recognized organization. It's non-political. So it says a single family dwelling is a minimum of 14 members. That's a ranch house or a Cape Cod style house, Emerald Greens, Miami Beach Estates. So we meet that. We have 17 guys. That's pretty good. An open air strip mall or garden style apartments like you see up on Hoosick Street or Country Garden, 27 guys. That'd be an entire shift. We don't come close. High-rise building, Kennedy Towers, places like that, 42 members, 43 have equipped with a fire pump, which Kennedy Towers has a fire pump. We don't even request people in mutual aid to meet that requirement. This is a article from Spectrum from one of the previous meetings. And the last paragraph, the chief states in quotes, just this year alone, as the chief said, the reporter, meeting calls are up 1,000 this year with 2 months still left to go. You know, that would put us far beyond our capacity, he says. I'm telling you, we're beyond our capacity, right? We don't have enough guys. City of Albuquerque, New Mexico, their calls are up too, right? Big city, about 11 times the size of us. We're up 8,000 calls last year. They're at another firehouse with 30 more guys, right? They're 11 times us. So if we took our 1,300 calls we were up last year, multiplied that by 11, we'd far exceed them. The Troy Fire Department is the largest fire department transport agency in the Reno region, which is 14 counties around the Capital District. The only other agency bigger than this in the Reno region is County EMS, the town county. This is on their Facebook page for recruiting personnel. Says they do 12,000 plus calls for service annually. We do 13,817, not all EMS. They run 14 ambulances. We run three for the same amount of calls. They don't fight fires, right? Guys doing 15 calls, go to a fire for 3 hours, and then you're expected to do 5 more calls. We're like pack mules. The mayor stayed in the city the other night. There's 703 new units he talked about in there. There's probably another 1,000 on the planning board besides these 703. Who's going to do these calls, right? Who's going to do these calls? So you ask where the money is, and we put together some stuff here. $11 million paid to Rensselaer County since 1998 for dispatching. Currently $1.2 million a year. 2023 is the last year of the contract. It shouldn't be renewed. It's a state mandate to provide dispatching service to the counties. Why are we paying when nobody else in the county pays? Right? And then other cities get paid, the fire department gets paid for hazmat, right? The Troy Fire Department has been providing hazmat to Rensselaer County since 1986 without receiving any funding other than grants and equipment. Hazmat is also mandated by the state to be provided by the counties, right? And there's a lot of hours of training that goes on that, right? You're dealing with really bad chemicals and you have to know how they react to mitigate the situation. You know, Schenectady County pays $1 million for staffing for the fire department and $250,000 for equipment for a city-provided hazmat team. They guarantee the county 20 guys for a hazmat call. They start with 8. They get guys back. They send them 12 more. The City of Troy Fire Department, when the NAC board took place and the city was on the brink of bankruptcy, the fire department agreed to safety staffing. For those of you who don't, since 2001, for those of you that don't know what safety staffing is, it's overtime for straight pay, right? The city saves 50% every time we work those 2 24-hour spots. So if the safety staffing's $500,000 a year, the city saves $250,000 a year. That's been going on since the 90s, right?
Hey,
You got-
Eric, I'm going to ask you, just, to wrap it up.
Almost
And,
done.
real quick, I want you to just add in, this is a little unorthodox, but, I met with some of your firefighters the other evening after the meeting.
Mhm.
I think the public needs to know what the morale is in the department.
It's a real time law, right? We have guys that rescue people and they're being degraded and saying that they abandoned a patient. When you have people working overtime, right, what does that say to you, right? But let me just finish this list. 3.6 million in the AFG grant for staffing awarded that this year. There's money in the budget for these positions. This grant will take that place. Where's that money going? It's going to go out of the fire department. Why isn't it being put back in, right? $800,000 for paramedic school grant money for when we hire people to send them to paramedic school. That grant money would pay for 8 more firefighters a day for 4 years. $6 to $7 million per year from the MAC bond. The final payment was made on January 18th, 2022. Granted, Andy talked about inflation, the cost of goods, all this stuff. There's no money left supposedly out of that. Approximately $3 million in ambulance revenue a year to the general fund. That number includes Medic 3s. That's without getting the actual number, which we can't get. That's my guess of what it generates. There's money to be had here to keep Medic 3 on duty. There's money in the transport revenue to help pay for itself. We never got into this business to make money. It was about service. We were waiting half hour, 45 minutes for ambulances. Now we sit and wait at a hospital for 2 hours with a patient in the back of the ambulance because we can't get a bed, right? And in that time, there's a fire truck off duty sitting in a firehouse with no guys on it, right? We just approved $700,000 for a new fire engine to go in the Bowden Road firehouse. And half the day, there's not going to be anybody there to take it out the door if there's a fire, right? I don't know. The other thing that's not on that list, and I didn't think of it till later, was a public safety fee. Been talked about for years. No action on it. I don't know, but something's got to be done before something bad happens, right? There's a lot of people here concerned about lead pipes. They should be concerned about getting a fire truck or an ambulance to their house also, because there's a lot of times we're requesting mutual aid from Colony, North Greenbush, Hoosick Valley. Those are wrong rates when you're having a heart attack or a stroke or whatever. But something needs to be done. We ask you to try to find the money, at least in the short term, get Medic 3 back on duty, and to try and address the issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
I got one more thing. I was informed this afternoon. A month ago, we had 5 guys to hire. Thursday, we had 4 guys to hire. Monday, we had 2 guys to hire. Today, we're down to 1 guy. 1 guy tomorrow at 11 o'clock to be hired. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Would anyone else like to address the city council? Hey there.
Good evening, Matthew Ryan, 72 Pinewoods Avenue. I'm also the Sergeant at Arms for Troy Firefighters Local 86. I'll direct this question in particular at the Public Safety Chair. What is the plan to have the funds in the RFP for the study for the fire department to be put out? How long are we going to sit on this money like we've sat on the lead pipe money? What are you going to do about it? That is your responsibility as the Public Safety Chair, not to play politics and to join members of your party. It's to protect the residents of this city. So I'd like to hear what your plan is.
Thank you. Thank you. Would anyone, I'm sorry. Yeah. Just so folks know, at public forums, it's your time, so we don't have back and forth, but hopefully if you want to come up and speak to any council member following the public forum, we're available. Would anyone else like to speak or address the city council? Okay, I'm going to close the public forum. I will. Absolutely. While Eric is handing these to the city council, I would ask, I know the mayor's in the back, and I'm not sure if the mayor would like to address anything that was stated on the lead pipe issue. It's totally up to you. I'm not throwing you on the spot, Mayor, but a number of things were stated, and I just thought you might want to speak. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I would encourage everybody to come to the workshop on the 16th. We have a problem, a serious problem in the city. The money that we have is a fraction and maybe about 1.5% of what we need. We do not yet have a good inventory of the houses with the lead service lines. We've had about a 4% return rate on our efforts to collect that. But based on that and extrapolation on that and the historical knowledge that the water department has, we estimate there are about 4,500 lead service lines in the city. If we estimate $5,000 per replacement, we're looking at $22,500,000. It's an enormous number. And yes, there will be grant funds available to help with some of that, but there's not going to be enough. If we're going to be able to help everybody in the city with the cost of replacing their lines 100%, we're going to need to raise some serious money. And, I don't have the authority to raise the water rate. I don't have the authority to bond. So it'll involve a discussion with the city council. We'll put together a proposal and lay it out. I'm going to guarantee you that, any proposal we put out is barely going to get 5 people in a room to agree on it. Everybody's got a different perspective on this. But the challenge before us is this is going to cost some serious money if we're going to cover 100% of the cost. In the meantime, look at the city's website. We all know now to run our water. You're away, if you've not used your water in 6 hours, run the pipe, 30, 60 seconds, that should clear out the line. It's the lead in the service line. It's not lead in the main lines. So there's a limited amount in there, maybe 2 gallons at most. Run that through until it's cold. That's the safest thing you could do. Of all the lead that's in our environment, this is at least one that we can temporarily minimize the risk on if we run the water. So we've got a large problem in the city of Troy. I wouldn't say that it's more significant than other cities, but it's going to take a lot of resources to address this for everybody. So I'd encourage you to come on the 16th and offer your opinions. I won't get into the details now, the things that we're thinking about. There's pros and cons on each side, and we'll list a couple of options and we'll list the pros and cons and see how we can arrive at a solution that serves the most people.
Thank you.
Why residents that approached the water department were rebuked when they were asked about the water's offer to replace their lead service line, especially when it was pregnant women.
The need exceeds the amount, and so yes, the need exceeds the amount of money that we have available. We don't have criteria for picking you over you over you. We need that. We need to be fair to people. We need to have criteria that prioritizes certain people and lets other people wait until we can source the resources to deal with that.
Do you think? Excuse me, this is a city council meeting, but if you do have questions, I mean, Mayor, you're welcome if you want to stay there, but would you like us to close and then we could have conversations?
Whatever you want, it's your meeting.
Fair enough. If you have a question, Greg, quick, thanks.
That's one of the stupidest questions I've ever heard. It is.
That's what you're doing. You're
No, it is not.
Hold on, please.
No.
I'm trying.
We put information out on the website so that people could take steps to avoid lead accumulating in their water. We're not letting people get lead poisoning. We're working on the solutions that we can provide at this time.
obligation to spend this money, then
Yes, we have an obligation to spend the money and we have an obligation to spend it fairly.
Okay. Okay,
Okay,
I'm just, okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it, but I encourage everyone, please, February 16th, 5:30. Hopefully, in the meantime, the mayor and his administration can pull together some proposals for the council to access those monies. Thank you. Thank you very much. I do want to thank all the folks that spoke tonight. Liz, you're always so educational for us. And in the meantime, please feel free to continue talking to us because we're here. Thank you for everyone coming out. And I will take a motion to adjourn. Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Do we have a second? Second, Councilmember Steele. The council takes this very serious and I can't, obviously the mayor does also. We're going to address this. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. We're adjourned. Thank you. I always start legislation.
Yeah, all of us.
Let's all look at it again. The code.
Yeah.
But no.
additional, like,
I didn't do it. You're muted.
No, that was.
Yeah.
All over.
Yeah, me too.
I heard you guys.